So, Laura, I am not a very good singer, but I found that singing does make me feel good. It makes me feel happy. And so in the area of our space station that is kind of our little space gym, when I'm working out in there, I will play my music out loud and sing along. Hopefully, usually there I will play my music out loud and sing along. Hopefully, usually nobody else is nearby or can hear me because they might have their own headphones in. But I do enjoy singing. It sounds the way it does on Earth. So our atmosphere is made up of all the same components that yours is right now on Earth, and so we need that to survive, and so it sounds the same way that it would to you on Earth, just as bad in space as I am on Earth.
Hi, I'm Michael Hakel, and I'm from Saratoga Springs, New York, and I'm wondering why astronauts get weaker in space.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, you see why. It's because we're floating all the time. We don't need to stand. We don't need to sit. Because when you're standing, when you're sitting, when you're climbing stairs, when you're walking around, you're using a lot of muscle that we don't have to use. I can just push with one finger on the wall and go across the entire space station. If nothing is going to stop me, it's just very, very, very easy to move around. But obviously the seamy side is that you're losing a lot of muscle because you're not using them. You're losing a lot of bone mass because your bones are not needed in space anymore, not as much as on Earth. So to counteract that, we have to exercise.
Hi, my name is Sylvie. I live in Milton, New York, and my question is, how do astronauts exercise in space?
So as you just heard, exercise is really important for us. We have a couple of different exercise machines. We have a cycle ergometer, which is like a bicycle without a seat. We just clip our feet onto the pedals, and then the resistance changes, so we have to work harder or less hard, and that gets our heart rate going. That helps with our aerobic fitness. We also have a treadmill, and for the treadmill, we wear a harness that is then with bungee cords and clips attached to the actual rotating treadmill, and that helps load our skeleton. It's kind of like wearing a backpack and running. So that helps with our aerobic fitness as well as our bone and muscle strength. And then we have a resistive exercise device, which emulates weightlifting for us so that we can still pull against something, and it makes it feel like we're lifting weights to make sure that our muscles and bones don't atrophy.
Hi, my name is Lily. I'm from New York, and my question is, do you ever get so used to life on the space station that you forget what it's like on Earth?
Yes, you do sometimes. Things are different here. You see how we evolve in that environment. So you get used to it. You get used to handling things and the way everything floats. And then it can be sometimes a little bit challenging to come back on Earth. Like here, in the morning, I can jump into my pants to get dressed up. I put my pants in front of me. I just jump into them both feet at a time because I can. If I'm trying to do this on Earth, I'm going to fall on my face more often than not. So you have to learn that lesson. And you have to readapt when you come back to the ground. I mean, a national friend of ours, Soichi, was saying the first shower is like the Matrix because it's so amazing to see the water droplets going all in the same direction. Here on the space station, they go all over the place. They float around, but on Earth, they all go in the same direction. So it takes some time to readapt, but we do because we're definitely an Earthbound species for now.
My name is Zoe, and I live in New York, and I'm 6 years old, and I'm wondering if you are working on any science projects right now.
Science projects. That is why we're here on the International Space Station. This week, in fact, we've been doing a lot of maintenance. So we have to do work on the systems that keep the space station running, as well as the science equipment. We give it some upgrades. But there is a science experiment going on right now that my crewmate Aki has been working on tardigrades. So tardigrades you might have heard of. They're microscopic creatures. People call them water bears because of how they look. And they're really good at surviving in extreme environments. And so they were brought up here so that scientists can study their genes to see what adaptations they use to survive in a stressful environment like a micro-G environment. It's hard on our bodies as humans. And so maybe we can learn something from how these water bears adapt that might help humans for long-duration spaceflight.
Hi, my name is Aja, and I'm from New York. And my question is, how do you cope with isolation while on the space station?
It's a good question. So we're not entirely isolated. Thank God we have a team of crewmates and friends, and we share a lot together, and that helps a lot. But it's difficult. It's difficult to be away from your loved ones for an extended period of time. And the most difficult, at least to me, is that you can't be there for them, if they need you, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're here. So, well, you just hope that they understand, and you hope that they still love you when you come back.
Hi, I'm Eli from Line 7 Bowl. How do you drink water in space?
How do you drink water in space? Well, I'm going to give this mic to Tomas so we can show you. So the water or the liquid that we're going to drink, we put in drink bags. So this actually is an orange flavored drink because we thought it would show up a little bit better. So we we can put water into this bag, and then we put a straw into the bag as well. So here is the straw going into the bag, and the straw has to have a little clip on it because otherwise the liquid would just start coming out anytime we pressed on this bag. So I'm going to unclip the straw, and then I'm going to see if we can get a little bit of liquid, not too much. Normally we would just drink from the straw like you do on Earth, but I wanted to show you what liquid will do. So we can actually kind of have fun with our liquids in space. So this is how we drink fluids in space, and I'm going to do it the easy way.
Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm from New York, and my question is, how does being in space change your perception of the scale of the universe?
It does change your perspective, but also simply the scale of Earth. When you're on Earth, everything seems just infinite and so vast and so big. But when you're in space and you look down, it's all very small, very tiny, very confined, and you see there's nothing around. It's like an oasis. So that's the first, I think for me, it was the first realization that, oh, wow, the planet is fragile. You have to protect it. But generally speaking, it makes you feel very, very tiny to be in space because you take a step back and you see just how immense and infinite the universe is, starting with the Earth that's so close to you, but also all the distant objects. I think you realize that your place in the universe is very, very tiny, and it makes you a little bit more humble, I think.
Hi, my name is Addison. I'm from New York, and my question is, how does the spaceship get out of Earth?
So the way we launch on a spaceship from Earth... Oh.
Continue. I was making sure you understood the question.
We got it. Thank you.
So how do we leave Earth in a spaceship? So basically our spaceship is on a rocket, and that rocket burns a whole lot of energy to get the weight of our spaceship off the planet. So in order to get into Earth orbit, which is where we are now, the spaceship needs to get going about 17,500 miles per hour, which is super fast. If you're going that fast, you get from California to New York in about 10 minutes. So we have to get going pretty fast if we want to get into Earth orbit. If you want to leave Earth orbit and go somewhere like the moon or onto Mars, you need to get going fast enough that you can leave the pull of Earth's gravity completely. And that's about 25,000 miles per hour, which is even faster. So I haven't gone that fast yet, but hopefully maybe you will do that someday soon.
Hi, my name is Lily. I'm from Troy. My question is, what is your initial reaction when you first feel weightless because of the gravity?
Oh, usually you laugh. I mean, it's exhilarating. It's so much fun. It really feels like water draining out of the kitchen sink. Like your weight is like sucked out of you, and suddenly you float, you fly. So it's such a fantastic feeling. As a matter of fact, I just saw pictures in close friends on a parabolic flight this weekend. They were all beaming and laughing because that's what it does. You have to accept to lose some control a little bit. Sometimes people are a little bit worried about losing control, but you get used to it very fast, and it's a ton of fun.
How many sunrises do you see a day?
So we're going so fast that we go around the Earth 16 times in a day. So we see 16 sunrises and usually 16 sunsets.
Hi, astronauts. How fast does the ISS go?
How fast? Well, like Megan is saying, we're going 17,500 miles per hour, which is really fast. It's 30 times faster than a plane. So if you would go from, I have to pick another example, if you go from Los Angeles to Paris, for example, that's 20 minutes instead of 11 hours on a plane. So it's really, really super fast. And when you look out the window, things go by really quickly. So you take off, you overfly LA, you go have a coffee and maybe a meal, and then the next time you look out the window, you're in Paris. So it makes it seem very, very close.
Hi, my name is Maeve Owens, and I will be starting college at the University of Delaware in the fall as a physics and astronomy major. Thank you to Congressman Paul Tonko and to everyone who participated and asked questions at today's event. Thank you also to our friends at the Clifton Park Half Moon Library for partnering with the museum for this event. On behalf of the Children's Museum at Saratoga, thank you to NASA and to the astronauts aboard the space station who answered our questions and continued to inspire us to reach for the stars.
Thank you for joining us aboard the International Space Station.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you to all participants. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.
Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston Station, we are ready for the event.
Houston ACR, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Houston ACR. How do you hear me?
Houston ACR, this is Station. We hear you loud and clear.
Great. Please stand by for opening remarks.
Hey, everybody. I'm Wisconsin's Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, and we are so excited that the Discovery Outreach Team based at the UW-Madison campus has been selected for this opportunity with the crew aboard the International Space Station. Now, the young people participating in today's program are part of a statewide initiative that connects kids to science. This happens in partnership with UW-Madison, WARF, and the Mortgage Institute for Research. And they also represent our state's future. Now, we are thrilled to be able to share this experience with you. Now, here's our first question.
My name is Emerson. I'm 9 years old. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. And my question is, who or what inspired you to be an astronaut?
That's a great question. So for me, when I was growing up, I lived in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and my dad took me down to Kennedy Space Center, looking at real rockets, and also went to the Smithsonian and look at real hardware. That plus watching a lot of science fiction movies made me really want to go to space. So that's how everything started.
Hi, my name is Simon. I'm 8 years old and from Madison, Wisconsin. My question is, what is the newest feature or instrument added to the space station? Thanks.
Thank you for your question. Actually, just a week or so ago, we got to install a really cool piece of hardware called IROSA, which stands for ISS Rollout Solar Arrays. So Thomas Pesquet and myself got to go outside and do a couple spacewalks where we installed these new solar arrays to add incredible amounts of power to the International Space Station. So that was pretty cool, and probably the newest feature that we've added since we've been here.
Hi, my name is Jonas from Madison, Wisconsin, and I was wondering what time zone the astronauts use aboard the International Space Station.
So we actually use the time in England. It's called the Greenwich Mean Time. And we have a lot of astronauts from different countries, like Shane's from the U.S., I'm from Japan, we have Thomas Pesquet from France, and we have Oleg and Pyotr from Russia. And we have different control centers on the ground, but we all work on, based on the Greenwich Mean Time.
Hi. Hi, my name is Sam. I am 7 years old and I am from Madison, Wisconsin. My question is, the astronauts on the space station speak different languages. So, how do you all communicate?
Yeah, you're thinking along the good lines there, and a very good question. We have different languages and different countries we represent, like Aki just mentioned. The main language up here is English, so that's really good for me, for sure. But we also speak Russian, and if you flew up here on a Russian spacecraft, like Aki and I did on our previous flights, we had to speak Russian the whole time there on the spacecraft until we got to the space stations, because you're flying in a Russian spacecraft with Russian colleagues, and that's how you communicate. So we both still speak some Russian, and then the rest of us learned a little bit of Japanese and a little bit of French along the way, because we have those people represented here as well.
Hi, my name is Arosh and I'm 8 years old from Madison. My question is, how can you farm in space by growing crops?
That's a very good question, and I think a lot of scientists on the ground are working on that. To grow crops, we need water, light, and nutrients, right? On orbit, we are doing some experiments, and actually we have equipment right here. And we do try to grow some crops, some plants, different plants. So we use LEDs for light, and for water and nutrients, there's a special device that gives them enough, but not too much of those. And all of that contributes towards science. And if we have to go to Moon or Mars, maybe to Mars, we may have to grow our own crops. So that's going to help us out.
My name is Jace. I'm 6 years old. I live in Madison. And my question is, what do you eat in space?
Well, actually, we have some pretty good food up here. Our food service people from the Johnson Space Center have made quite some menus, and also some people from Japan have made some for Aki. We have Russian food as well and French food, so it's not all that bad. But in general, we have some dehydrated food that you might be able to see here that comes in a packet like this. This happens to be pasta and shrimp with some, looks like red sauce. And so what you do is we hook this up to a machine, we put water in it, and then wait for 10 or 15 minutes, and then you can eat it. And it tastes pretty good. Another way we get our food is in pouches like this. This just happens to be a grilled pork chop, which is another tasty item that we have. But we can just put this in our little oven, which is like a drawer up here, but it heats it up. And then when you're ready to eat it, you can eat it.
Hi, my name is April Osorio. I am 7 years old. I was wondering, how do you sleep in space? Because you are floating all the time. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. We're always floating, right? And we can be upside down like Shane is right now. But when we sleep, we actually sleep in a sleeping bag, because if we have a bed and sleep on it and have a blanket on, that blanket's going to float away from you and you're going to get cold. So we actually sleep in a sleeping bag, and that is tied to a wall. And also, it's inside our own small room. It's about the size of a telephone booth. And we stay in there, and it doesn't make us fly away.
Hi, my name is Jill, and I'm 10 years old. And I am from Madison. My question is, how do you get oxygen on the space station?
Oxygen, of course, is very important so that we can survive up here. And a lot of the visiting vehicles, so a lot of spacecraft come up here, whether they have people on them or sometimes it's just cargo and supplies, but they can bring up oxygen for us. We have a way to store that oxygen with tanks on the outside of the space station. And then when the inside of the space station needs oxygen, there's a nice system here that just pumps it in, like an air conditioning system that you might have in your house or at your school back home.
Hi, my name is Jack, and I am 11 years old, and I live in Madison, Wisconsin. And my question is, how long did it take your spaceship to get to the International Space Station?
So for Shane and I, we flew from Kennedy Space Center on a Crew Dragon spacecraft. It took us about a day to get here to the International Space Station. Mark and Oleg and Pyotr, they launched on a Soyuz rocket, and it took them about 6 hours or so to get here. So, it's getting faster and faster. So maybe in the future it might be like an hour trip to International Space Station. We'll see.
Hi, my name is Eva. I'm 5 from Madison, Wisconsin. My question is, what does a space station smell like?
Well, to me, it just smells like a normal kind of workspace and office space. If you're working on something special, maybe you'll smell those smells like the plants that Aki was talking about earlier. Maybe you'll smell some of the freshness there. But in general, it just smells like a workplace. Now, if you're around the gym, we have a gym up here, so when you're working out, then it kind of has the smell of a gym, people sweating, that sort of thing. But again, our air conditioning system is very good up here, so it kind of takes out a lot of the odors that you might think are up here.
Hi, my name is Macy. I'm 13 years old from Madison, Wisconsin, and my question is, what does it feel like to go through Earth's atmosphere?
That's a very good question. So when we launched on the Crew Dragon, unfortunately, we didn't have a window in front of us. There were 2 windows towards our feet. I was looking out of one of them. Shane, unfortunately, he was in command of the spacecraft, so it would have been hard for him to look down. But, you see the atmosphere kind of getting thinner and thinner, and then after a while, when we reach space, it's like black, and you no longer see the atmosphere. So that's what we saw. In terms of sensation, it's hard to tell because we're always accelerating on the rocket, and you feel like you get pushed down. And then once the engine stops, you're in microgravity. So we don't really feel the resistance of atmosphere, but the rocket definitely feels the resistance.
Hi, my name is Brianna, and I am 9 years old. My question is, why isn't Pluto a planet anymore?
Hey, a lot of people want to know that, right? And that's a very good question. And I'm not sure exactly personally why it is, but I know there's a society out there called the International Astronomical Union, and they're the ones that kind of make the rules on these things. And so they have criteria for what planets have to be, and Pluto just doesn't meet those criteria, unfortunately. However, it does meet the criteria to be a dwarf planet.
My name is Colin. I am 7 years old. My question is, when did you stop feeling gravity in space?
That's a very good question. So when we are launching, on the ground, we're on our back, and then we start the engine. At that point, we're still feeling the 1G, just like on the ground, just like you. Now, when we're on the rocket, we start accelerating, so it feels heavier and heavier. And then when the engine stops, then we're like floating in our seat. So that's the moment that you actually feel like, whoa, we're in microgravity, we're in space.
Hi, my name's Lulu. I'm 10 and I live in Madison. My question is, what shape does water take when it freezes in microgravity?
Well, I haven't seen it freeze up here. We don't freeze things, at least in the cabin on the International Space Station. I've seen it on the space shuttle, and Aki may have seen it as well. We shot some water out the side one time, and it just formed these crystals, and it looked actually like snow. But let me show you what liquid looks like when it's not freezing, but just what it does here when in microgravity, which is very different than Earth. So Aki's going to show you here. We have a drink bag here. I think it's some orange drink, and you'll hopefully see what happens when you just let liquid go and fly free. It's just going to form a nice sphere, and if he just kept pushing on it, it would get as big maybe as even a grapefruit or a basketball. But that's how liquid forms in space.
Hello, my name is Kailani, and I'm 8 years old. I live in Madison, Wisconsin. Have you ever seen an eclipse before from space?
Oh, that's a great question. So we've been here about 2.5 months now, and we actually had a lunar eclipse. Unfortunately, at the moment of total eclipse, we were on the other side of Earth, so we couldn't see it. But every orbit, we saw, first we saw the full moon, and then the next time we came and saw it, it was not full. It was like less than half already. So, yeah, it was pretty spectacular to see it from up here.
Hi, my name is Zoe. I'm 14 years old and I live in Madison, Wisconsin. My question is, how are you testing the Butterfly IQ ultrasound technology? Do you test it on each other or in some other way? Thanks.
Hey, we haven't done it yet, but we have that technology up here, and we're going to be testing it on each other, like your question asked, at some point during our mission. And it's going to really help us. It's going to help the scientists and the doctors that are looking at the data on the ground, and it's going to help future astronauts, people that are going to the moon and Mars, to be able to have this remote capability to diagnose yourself or to just look at your organs to make sure they're doing okay. So we're looking forward to that. This can also help people on the ground. There's plenty of remote places on Earth that this technology can also be a benefit for. So we're looking forward to helping those people out as well.
Hello, my name is Braden. I am 16 years old and I am from Boston, Wisconsin. My question is, what is the coolest natural phenomenon you have seen from your orbit that you would not have seen from the surface of the Earth? And now that you have seen Earth from space, has your view of the planet changed at all?
That's a very good question. So, for me, I think a couple of things. First of all, flying through an aurora. I've seen an aurora from Earth before, but actually the International Space Station was flying through an aurora, so it was a pretty spectacular view. And then seeing shooting stars below you. Because usually on Earth, you're looking up to see a shooting star, but you're actually looking down. Looking at Earth as a whole and seeing that really thin atmosphere makes me appreciate Earth as a home planet much, much more. And I know it's a very fragile planet, so we need to take care of it very well.
Hi, my name is Lucas and I'm 7 years old. I'm from Madison. My question is, what is it like to move around in space?
It is so much fun to move around, and we have to fly everywhere we go. We can't walk, so that's kind of really cool and very unique compared to most, what we're used to on Earth. Now, we have these handrails. I don't know if you can see them, but they're blue in this module here, and that's what we usually grab on to move ourselves one way or the other. There's walls and things you can touch as well, but sometimes there's things we're not supposed to be touching on those, so it's nice to always grab handrails to move around, and they're all over the ceiling here, like you see, or the floor or the walls. And again, there's no up or down in space, so you can be in any orientation and grab any of these as you're moving around and flying around the space station.
Hi, my name is Theo. I'm 10 years old and from Madison, Wisconsin. When astronauts like you have birthdays in space, how do you celebrate?
Well, you're asking the right question because Shane here just had his birthday a couple of weeks ago, and we all got together for dinner and celebrated with drinks, and not those kind of drinks that you think, but with juice and I don't know, water, I guess, but with cake and some sweets, and we all got together and celebrated. Now there's a saying, if you have a birthday on orbit, it doesn't count. So he's 1 year or 2 years younger than his actual age.
Hi, I'm Amelia Podge, and I'm 6 years old. I live in Madison, Wisconsin, and my question is, when you're on a spacewalk, how do you get back to your spaceship? Because you're just like floating around.
Yeah, so spacewalking is very dangerous. So when we go outside, we got to be extremely careful, right? We don't ever want to get detached from the International Space Station, and the way we do that is by hooking up what's called a tether. So it's kind of like your safety line or your lifeline. So as soon as we open that hatch and go outside, we hook up this thing called a safety tether, and it's always anchored there right at the airlock where we exit. And so we could be 50, 60 feet away, and if we, for some reason, let go, we wouldn't go floating off into space. We would just come back to where that tether was anchored. So that's our safety line, and we're trained very well on how to do that, and also how to have different tethers besides that one so that you can stay close to your work site and actually get some really good work done. So we don't ever want to go and floating away like you see in the movies. That's kind of just movies, hopefully. It never happens for real here on the space station.
Thank you all so much. Thank you everyone for watching. I'm Dan Murphy, Outreach and Lab Manager for the Morgridge Institute for Research. Our programs like the Wisconsin Science Festival, Saturday Science, and experiences like this create opportunities for people across the state to connect with scientists and unleash their curiosity. On behalf of the Morgridge Institute for Research, the Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation, the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and Wisconsinites everywhere, thank you for inspiring us.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
you.